Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports News Flash at 12 with your weekend sports anchor, Mike Medina. A lot of things to cover, but I'm going to try to make this as short as sweet for a lot of things. But I don't know. Let's see where we go with this episode. But first things first, sad news. Former heavyweight champion George Foreman, he passed away at the age of 76. Foreman, he was a two-time heavyweight champion, and he beat Joe Frazier in January 1973 to win his first heavyweight title. He also faced Muhammad Ali in Rumble in the Jungle fight. He finished his career 76-5 with 68 knockouts. He won his second heavyweight title versus Michael Moorer in November 1994. He was away from boxing for 20 years. And George Foreman, he was a man that he fought with a lot of intensity, a very angry man. The fight against Muhammad Ali really did some damage to him from a psychological standpoint. But then when he started to have a relationship with God, that changed everything. And if that would have never happened, who knows where George Foreman would have gone from there. But him serving the Lord, him changing his life around, developing a spiritual lifestyle, that was just remarkable. There was a TV show that he appeared around 1977 and basically explaining himself why he retired from boxing and how did this whole thing went about him starting to have a relationship with God. And if you've seen the movie, the George Foreman movie that came out back in 2023, it kind of gives you an idea of what he was going through, even though when it comes to biopics, certain things can be over dramatized, but I could say I'm a paraphrase, but he basically felt like he was dying and God basically lifted him up. That's the best way I could put it. And at first he tried to deny it, that no, that wasn't the case. But when he started to realize that he needed the Lord, that he needed him to get through and overcome all the demons that he was overcoming, that helped out a lot. It really did. But me personally, I first learned about George Foreman through his commercials, the griddle commercials. And that started basically in 1994. And he sold over 100 million George Foreman grills. And that's called a George Foreman lean, mean, fat reducing grilling machine. So that was my early memories of George Foreman when I saw him in those commercials. And then when I learned that, he used to fight, then that's when I started looking at ESPN Classic back in the early 2000s. Of course, his fight with Ali and Frazier. But it's just amazing to see a story like George Foreman, how he went from this person that was just a wild man, a brawler, enjoying beating people up, to starting to have a relationship with the Lord. And then for him to make that comeback to boxing and become a champion again, that's just flat out remarkable. And he had to deal with a lot of no's, a lot of people doubting him, hating on him, but he did it his way. He achieved it, and he had a tremendous support system on top of that. So, And of course, his nickname was Big George, so you have that. But yeah, in terms of him finding God, he had a near-death experience, which happened in 1977, and it was after a fight in Puerto Rico. So he was in his dressing room, and that was a major turning point in his life. And he was young when he retired from boxing to dedicate his time to the Lord. He was 28 years old, the prime of his career. The prime of your career in as an athlete, I say, is from 26 to 32. So for him to do that, that took a lot of guts. He became an ordained minister and started preaching the church since 1980. But I could say that through the age of 76, he got to live a full life, I should say. He boxed, he served the Lord, he sold griddles, made commercials, so he's a success. Whether he was a public figure or not, he was successful because he did what he wanted to do. So, but rest in peace to George Foreman. My condolences goes out to his family during this difficult time. And all we have is the good memories of George Foreman. Me as a person that's a big sports guy, movie guy, I'm definitely gonna see this movie again. I've seen it twice. I'm gonna see it a third time. It's on Hulu, so if you wanna check it out and you have Hulu, check it out to honor George Foreman. In other news, March Madness, the first round, the second round has been something else, as usual. As a North Carolina Tar Heel and St. John's fan, I saw both of my teams get eliminated. UNC got eliminated on Friday night to Ole Miss. I respect them for coming back in the second half after a terrible first half, lackluster defense, no urgency. But that game was basically a deja vu of what we saw the first 4 months of the Tar Heels. They were being inconsistent. They were getting blown on the first half and then play catch up in the second half. And most of the time they don't complete their comeback. And that happened again against Ole Miss. It was sad to see Jalen Withers go down with the ankle injury to end his North Carolina Tar Heel career. Him and RJ Davis were the seniors on that roster. So it was tough to see him go out like that. RJ Davis, in that second half in the comeback, everyone stepped up. He stepped up. Ali Cadeau made a big three. Drake Powell made a big three. Jay Wash stepped up. Everyone contributed to that comeback. Seth Trimble, driving to the basket, stepped up. Coach Hubert Davis, as a person, because we got to separate the person and the coach. As a person, he seems someone that's very likable. But as a coach, he needs to get better. And I feel like next year he'll be on the hot seat. He needs to get better. Some of his coaching decisions makes me and many people scratch their heads. At one point, he had Van Lubin Allen and Seth Trimble. Seth Trimble, who's their best defender. Both of them, they were sitting at some point in the first half. And I didn't agree with that move because this is an elimination game. You lose and you're done. I just feel that when it comes to like the opposite team making a run, you got to quickly call timeout to kill the momentum. And, you have to show more fire when the team is not playing the way they're playing. Don't wait till halftime. Halftime is great, but do it early on. You got to set the tone early on. But he needs to get better in terms of some of his coaching decisions. Yes, I've never coached, but still, as a TV viewer, as a sports fan, we could voice our opinions too and what we think is right or wrong. So I don't care if this is your profession. So, but he needs to get better. I like Hubert Davis and I really want him to get better. So, but I do feel that next year he's on the hot seat if North Carolina they have to be better than this year. They have to. And during the offseason, they need to get a big man. They need to get at least 2 or 3 good pieces to come to this program. As for my St. John's Red Storm, yes, they got upset by Arkansas. Coach John Calipari, I mean, what can I say about him? This is a man that was ran out of town in Kentucky. He comes to Arkansas in his first year. He dealt with injuries. They even lost 5 straight games at one point. And to him to move on to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019, that is massive. Whether you like him or not, he is one heck of a coach. He believes in his players, he respects them, and he challenges them. Rick Pitino, another great coach. These two, when they go head to head, is always a great matchup. Rick Pitino lost his third straight NCAA tournament game to Calipari. But St. John's, they shot horrendously. Both teams shot horrible, especially from downtown. But St. John's, they were bad. They missed so many layups. R.J. Lewis Jr., who was the Big East Player of the Year, he was a no-show. Kadari Richmond, no-show, no leadership. When the team needed him, he didn't come through. Most of the game, he was on the bench because of foul trouble. Zuby, he played his heart out. He played with energy. He led the Johnnies with 23 points. This was a very physical game, which I loved. It gave me that old school feel of physical play. Him and Brazil going at it, chirping. I loved it. I don't agree with the flagrant one call on Brazil. I thought that was egregious. But St. John's, they could have done so much better. Spike Lee was in attendance. Many of the people were in attendance. But Billy Richmond, the third, he was the player of the game for Arkansas. He led the Arkansas with 16 points and 9 rebounds, all right? He led them with 16 points and 9 rebounds. Carter Knox added 15 points. Arkansas had 7 block shots, 7. And I feel like one of the key moments of this game was when Arkansas made that 7-0 run to end the first half. They led the half 35-32. I feel that was the beginning of Arkansas getting more confident as they were entering the second half. And when Arkansas jumped 55-42 in the second half, St. John's did go on a run, 7-0 run, thanks to Devon Smith, who gave them a boost. But again, this team needed R.J. Lewis Jr. and Kadari Richmond to do their part, and they didn't. I thought that St. John's was going to lose in the Elite Eight to probably Florida, but no one, and I repeat, no one, myself and a whole bunch of people, we did not expect St. John's to lose in the second round this early, especially to Arkansas. But I give Arkansas a lot of credit. They won this game 75-66, and now they will play against Texas Tech in the Sweet 16. So they deserve it, and I'm pulling for John Calipari. Hopefully he goes far, but again, that Florida Gators team is looking very good. Other games, UCLA versus Tennessee. Tennessee won 67-58. They will face the winner of Kentucky versus Illinois. UCLA is the second Big Ten team to lose in this tournament. Tennessee made 50% of their threes, and they only missed just 2 free throws. Houston defeated Gonzaga 81-76. That was a great game. Houston, they tortured Gonzaga in second chance points. Cougars defense came up big time down the stretch. The Bulldogs, even though they lost, but they put up a good fight. Gonzaga went perfect from the line, 15-15. They shot 50% from the field. Houston had 33 total rebounds, 5 blocks, 7 assists. This is their 6th straight Sweet 16 appearance, and they will play against Purdue on Friday, March 28th. Purdue, they eliminated McNeese. They absolutely picked them apart. McNeese just didn't have an answer. I guess they used so much of that energy when they defeated Clemson. They led Clemson by 18 at halftime, but then they trailed against Purdue by 18 in halftime. So But yeah, Purdue versus Houston should be a good one. BYU defeated Wisconsin. This was a great game. They won 91-89. BYU, they did very well in fast break situations. John Tonje, he finished with 37 points. For Wisconsin, he had one heck of a game. BYU shot 37% from downtown this season, but in this game, they were just lights out. They finished, I believe, with 46. Cougars bench, they outplay the Badgers bench. And I like the defensive stop at the end on Tonje. BYU did a great job defensively on those last few seconds of the game. Richie Saunders had 25 points and 7 rebounds for the Cougars. BYU will play the winner of Alabama versus St. Mary's, which will be next Thursday. Texas Tech defeated Drake 77-64. Drake, the team, not the rapper. Drake ran out of gas in the second half, but a great season overall for Drake. Auburn defeated Creighton 82-70. Michigan defeated Texas A&M 91-79. As for today's game, there's so many good ones, especially the first one. UConn versus Florida at 12:10. Baylor versus Duke at 2:40. Illinois versus Kentucky at 5:15 p.m. St. Mary's versus Alabama at 6:10 p.m. Colorado State versus Maryland at 7:10. Ole Miss versus Iowa State at 7:45 p.m. It should have been UNC versus Iowa State. Ole Miss was begging, and I repeat, begging for UNC to come back to win that game because UNC has so many chances, but I'll just leave it at that. But Ole Miss, they beat the Tar Heels. New Mexico versus Michigan State at 8:40. And last but not least, and this one is intriguing, Oregon versus Arizona at 9:40 p.m. Great games. Those are very good games. The very first one and the last one intrigues me a lot. And last but not least, I'm going to quickly talk about the Tennis Open. So far, that is happening in Miami. Well, first of all, Novak Djokovic, he won. He's back. Hopefully he stays healthy. Nick Kyrgios, he won his first match at the Miami Open since 2022, I believe. Coco Gauff won round of 32 against Sakari. Arena Sabalenka won. Naomi Osaka defeated Baptisti. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Jasmine Paolini won as well. These are the women's singles of yesterday's results. Rublev lost to Burks. João Fonseca defeated Humbert. Taylor Fritz defeated Sonego. Zverev, Alexander Zverev, Sasha, he defeated Fernley. As of today, we have Djokovic versus Ugo, Munar versus Monfils, Cerundolo versus Tommy Paul, as for the women's side, we have Madison Keys versus Yala, Pegula versus Kalinskaya. But yeah, those are some of the ones from Miami Open. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in for Sports News Flash at 12. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Enjoy watching the rest of Miami Open, NASCAR, March Madness. So many things going on. It's a fun time in sports right now. So I'll see you guys next Sunday for a new episode of Sports News Flash at 12. Be safe, and may God bless each and every one of you.